Shalom. I want to give all the praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shai Bahasham, Rachakodash. Yahweh being the name of the Heavenly Father, whom this world ignorantly calls God, and Yahweh Shai being the name of His only begotten Son, whom this world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ. In the name of the Holy Spirit, double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone who rule well, and peace and mercy to the house of David, those men that are doing His work in sincerity and in truth. You brothers out there, present your bodies as a living sacrifice. May the Lord bless you. And much love and peace to the 1/3 of the elect. Lord willing, this lesson is edifying through the Spirit. All right, so I'm pretty sure I'm going to put this image that I have here of what looks like to be an ancient Roman Colosseum. And actually, I'm zooming in on it now, not in the photo, not in the video, but while I'm recording this. And, this is interesting, just seeing how this thing is built in the detail. And you see little people down on the ground there, and they got like javelins in their hands and stuff like that. So, this is just an interesting take, and I'm not necessarily doing it. This is more so I started looking this up because I just started thinking about gladiators. All right. And I did hear they coming out with a Gladiator too, but I only found that out while researching this. And Gladiator was a momentous, a large film, and that was a good movie. I would still watch it to this day. But, there's a couple of aspects that I just wanted to bring out. A lot of those gladiators, shit, if not damn near all, a huge percentage were Israelites, all right? And people don't want to, obviously we can't look up where Israelites gladiators, they're not going to say that. They might say like it was a lot of black gladiators or African gladiators or slaves coming from all over. Well, what people are known as slaves. As a matter of fact, let me get that verse. Now that I'm thinking about it, what people were known to be slaves over and over again, countless times, right? The Israelites. This is and there's a reason that was our people. This is Jeremiah 2. I'm gonna start at 13. It says, "For my people have committed two evils. They have forsaken the fountain of living waters, right? His word, his understanding, right? And hewed them out cisterns, broken cisterns that can hold no water." So we started following other gods, and the Lord wasn't okay with that. So those are two evils that we committed. We forsook our Lord and Savior, right? Our power, right? His words and his law, statutes, commandments, and followed idol gods, right? That can hold no water. So we had living waters. Now you got something that can't even hold water. That's just like for any, like, this is obviously not comparing it to a plastic cup. Y'all know I just like to use these metaphors. If you have a plastic cup, that's like having a crystal glass that made everything taste better, that brought you great new. I always used to say when my grandma when I was at my house and mama made Kool-Aid and plastic, but then when I go to Granny house, her Kool-Aid always seemed to taste better. And I was like, why is that? It's because Granny always made hers in crystal. She had this crystal glass, and I never knew that as a child. But then, as I grew up, I knew. But that's like trading that. Now you got a plastic cup with a hole in it, right? And it's just like you just like, oh, you saw the heathen drinking out of it, so you don't know what that is. But now it can hold no water, and we had living waters. We had something better, right? Let Jake be foolish, right? This is verse 14 is the point. It says, "Is Israel a servant? Is he a homeborn slave? Why is he spoiled?" Right? So at the end of the day, we've been slaves so many times and for so long. It just seems that we are the natural servants of the earth. But we are been in that state because of our disobedience. But the other nations are going to be our servants. The other nations are going to be our slaves. But these gladiators, these were servants and these were slaves, these men. And so how do you know that was also us? Because there's matter of fact, let me get that. There's a saying in the world. All right, there's a saying in the world. Oh, let me see. There's a saying in the world that says history repeats itself. People always say that history repeats itself. So if history repeats itself, what we see today, that means we will see gladiators today, right? Let me get this. This is Ecclesiastes 1:9. It says, the thing that hath been, it is that which shall be. And that which is done is that which shall be done. And there is no new thing under the sun. Is there any new thing wherever it may be said, see, this is new? It has been already of old time, which was before us, right? So this is talking about, a lot of things. But in this story, in this instance, those gladiators, you will be seeing them perform again today. So now you see all of these great football players, basketball players, these large sports arenas. And I'm not necessarily making it about sports either, right? It's not about that. But obviously I have to bring up that point. But majority of the players in there are so-called black and Hispanic men. Okay, black, Hispanic, and Native American men. Okay, soccer arenas. All of those are the tribes, man. Okay, obviously the main one would probably be football because it has so much high level of physical contact. But at the end of the day, all of those are gladiators. So they just modernized it, made it to where it's a more appealing. It's not as bloodthirsty, but you do see blood. Those dudes be out there drawing blood. They be getting in fights. They be getting injured. You see what I'm saying? And so you're seeing a lot of that same activity. And those are the games that get the most highlight. When DeMar Hamlin, his ass fell out like that, I'm sure the ratings skyrocketed looking at that game, man. Okay? But this is how you know that history repeats itself. And these things are all biblical. All right? Let me find this. And so I only got a few scriptures. This one's probably a little more lengthier, but I did want to bring it out. This is second, and shalom to the elder Kassad from up in Seattle for helping me with this, because Jake could not remember this scripture for the life of me. But let me see here. This is 2 Maccabees 4. I'm going to start at verse 7. It says, but after the death of Seleucus, when Antiochus called Epiphanes took the kingdom, Jason, the brother of Onias, labored underhand to be high priest. Sneaky works. Promising unto the king by intercession 360 talents of silver and another revenue 80 talents. So this is a request he was making. It says, beside this, he promised to assign 150 more if he might have a license to, and see, this is how you know licenses, right? When you get licenses, you need approval to go and do something so that now the government can say you can or you can't do something. Like, you need a license to drive. You need a permit to be on the street. You need a license to have a building, right? You can't collect rainwater. You probably need a certain license if you do. This is Esau Edom and his workings. In the kingdom of heaven, things are gonna be different. Salakia. It says, if he might have license to set him up a place for exercise and for the training up of youth in the fashions of the heathen, and to write them of Jerusalem by the name of the Antiochians. So it says, so he can set up a place for exercise and for the training up of the youth and the fashions of the heathen. So, this new place of exercise, right? You can equate one to those Roman Colosseums, Greek Colosseums, right? And but obviously the also other place of exercise is what you know as the gym, or gymnasium, right? And when you go into that word gym, it goes back to the Greek meaning gymnos, which means naked or loinclothed, And so this is how you know Esau's the devil. Like, why are those synonymous? A place for exercise where people are supposed to come and try to make their body more fit. It's a place of exercise. Is also known as being naked. And so that's why when you go in the gym, we are going to the gym and there's dudes in there, they at our gym, they tell us you got to have a shirt on, but they're wearing, arms out, showing as much body as they can, right? Women are scantily clad. Like, since I've been in the gym, I've probably seen all of the days, and I go damn near every day, right? I probably can say, I mean, there are probably more, but I probably can say I saw two women decently dressed, for a gym. That's a hard place for a woman to be at. But one of them, one chick, she wears like a hoodie around her waist. And that's what I say. For women that do go to gym, especially if you're in the truth, right? Now, I do think women are supposed to be like working out at home and they ain't supposed to be up in them gyms like that because it's too many men. But if you do go to the gym, you need to wear something around you, especially your assets that show more, right? Say, for instance, you have a big behind. Wear a hoodie around your waist so men can't see it and just look at it easily. If you have a big breast, yeah, it's going to be hot, but wear a hoodie, right? Wear something where you're just not showing it off because they come in that gym and women feel like it's a prime area for women to come in and get the attention of looks without men expecting men to get on. Like in the gym, it's like an unspoken thing. Like 99% of the time, the men are not going to try to holler at you, right? They're not going to try to get on. It's just like an unspoken thing because one, it's almost like a job. You don't necessarily want to talk to, you don't want to eat where you shit, so to speak. You know, Now I'm not saying it can't happen and those things don't happen, but most of the time men avoid talking to the women, especially. It's one thing, shit, even looking at them, you try to look the other way, but you might glance, still a man, but talking to them is a different story. So I'm going off the tangent a little bit, but that's just some advice for women that's in the gym. But my point is, they're always in there naked, right? They're always in there naked. And this shit, don't even go into the men's locker room. Completely different story. You see dudes in there, you look to the damn side, you got 80-year-old Amalekites with their whole ass out, with their rod showing, like no privacy, no, you don't go into the back to the shower, you didn't go nowhere. You just thought it was okay to do that. But see, that's the mentality that Esau put out. That thing, and nobody want to see that, bro. Nobody want to see that. But let me get back to the lesson. All right, it says train it up. In those gladiators, so they had that. They would go out there and fight. They would have no shirts on, out there getting it in, And now even today, they say like these stars, they go in them locker rooms and they won't have no clothes on. Says Shaq used to run around naked with a damn towel on, tackling people. That's that sodomite mentality that Esau puts into the earth. Okay. It says, which when the king had granted, he had gotten into his hand the rule, he forthwith brought his own nation to Greekish fashion, and the royal privileges granted a special favor to the Jews by the means of John, the father of Eupolemus, who went ambassador to Rome for amity and aid. He took away, and putting down the governments which were according to the law, he brought up new customs against the law. For he built gladly a place of exercise under the tower itself, and brought the chief young men under his subjection and made them wear a hat. And so a lot of those men, they would go out, they would put them in, you would be working out, right? And then they'll send you out to be in the damn Colosseum. And you put on a helmet, right? You ready to fight, you ready to go to war. Even those wrestlers, sometimes they wear hats. When you boxing, you wear that little fake helmet thing when you sparring, when you're not in the official ring. You got what else are those? Football players, they got to wear helmets. So Gladiators, if you look at, if you watch Gladiator, the first movie with Russell Crowe, when he had his helmet on, that shit was hard as hell. I was like, ooh wee, that boy was raw. But that was the mentality that they were pushing, right? It made them wear a hat. It seems like protection, but it's also a hard thing. Like when you watch a football game now, you be like, hey, yo, they helmet's hard, bro. But just forcing you to do something, period, was, it says it made them wear a hat. Now you gonna wear this. It's also a symbol that you a part of that, right? If you see somebody with a gladiator, like I said, I still remember Russell Crowe's helmet to this day. A football player, if you see somebody that plays for the Atlanta Falcons, you see a helmet sitting on the ground, you can be like, oh, that's a helmet for an Atlanta Falcon, We're moving on. I did want to say something before I continue reading on that. Right, the word Colosseum, right? When you go into that word Colosseum as well, it goes in the it means gigantic, gigantic. So it's just like when you say he's colossal, right? It means gigantic or huge. So they had these gigantic things, these gigantic areas where men would go to, and people would go to see everything. And you had this poet. His name was Juvenal, right? It kind of reminds me of juvenile, but I looked it up. Juvenile goes back to juvenus, which means young or youth, right? And it's crazy how a name like juvenile has a bad connotation to it, right? Juvenile, when you think of, I think of two things: juvies, like you bad and you getting locked up, and I think of juvenile, the rapper, and he was putting out wickedness too. Even though I used to like some of his old tracks, but that's when I was in the world. I mean, I still would bang some of his old stuff now, but juvenile means young and reckless, young. So he was young in the head, young minded. But juvie, if you get a juvenile detention center, it has a bad connotation. You be like, yeah, I'm a juvie. That saying of a young man came and say I'm juvenile, it should just mean that could just mean I'm young. But it has a connotation now that you're doing something of a childly and reckless nature, right? But this word juvenile, his name, it goes back to like the birds of a feather, juvenile plumage. So they're not entirely the same thing. But some could argue that it's a similar root. But nonetheless, he said, give the people bread and circuses, and brothers talk about this all the time. Give the people bread and circuses, and they will never revolt. You see? And you got to think about the minds of some people, right? To be able to say something like that, right? If you give them bread and circuses, and they will never revolt. That's how you know people are destroyed. Okay? Where you have something that's it's really a distraction. Distracting you from what's important. And see, that's how you know the world is at a point where it's going to revolt. Right? But bread and circuses will alter your mind and keep you away from focus on important things. I ain't talking about brothers, because at this point, brothers are balanced to where we can watch sports and things like that, but we still in tune with what's really going on earth. And I was looking up this dude, Juvenal, and he used to write poems and satire, right? So it says, I looked up this part, it says, what is unique about Juvenalian satire? It said, Juvenalian satire tends to be more bitter and dark, expressing anger and outrage at the state of the world. So, and then I was reading, if it's true, I heard he ended up getting exiled because he knew it was a guy that was higher in the courts that ended up getting him exiled for something that he did, And so he might have been an Israelite. I can't say for sure, all right, but he might have been an Israelite. He's talking about the bitter, dark state of the world, outrage at the world. He was exiled, it wasn't a whole lot of information they didn't have about him, but, it seems like he was at least mindful of the things that was going on in the world. You know what I'm saying? Not saying that you got to be a Jake to do that, but a lot of those older men like that you saw, like philosophers and things like that, a lot of those are Israelites, all right? Even if they look like other nations, they were Israelite foreigners, okay? And so all of this ultimately goes back. This is also a part of the beast image, man. Okay? But let me continue on this before I get my next verse. I'm going to get this Second Maccabees 4:13. It says, now such was at the height of Greek fashions, right? And that's talking about the customs, right? But at the end of the day, clothing too, right? Gladiators had a certain apparel that you be able to identify them. Like now, if you see somebody with a basketball jersey, you be like, oh, he's a hooper. If you see somebody with shoulder pads, you be like, oh, he plays football. You see somebody with a soccer jersey, oh, he's a soccer player. So the scriptures say a man's attire say what he is, tell what he is. So those men are gladiators with certain attire and fashions in that sense. It says an increase of heathenish manners. See, heathenish manners, because a lot of those things they will end up serving other gods. You be out there because when you get into matter of fact, let me look something up real quick. When you get into them sports, right, you start putting on a different spirit of another god. Um, and I actually let me see this if they will give it to me. But you start putting on a different spirit because when when you think about sports, when you think about sports, like I was trying to look something up. It says Olympia. I remember Olympia and Olympus because you got Olympic Games. It says Olympia was the most important sanctuary of the god Zeus, which is a false god. But it says the games were held in his honor. So really you putting on the spirit of Zeus when your mind is getting taken over by sports and that gladiator mentality. It says sacrifices and gifts were offered, and athletes took oaths to obey the rules before a statue of Zeus. You see? So, and that's what you're seeing with the Olympic Games and all of that kind of stuff. Those are Greek terms, Greek and Roman terms, right? Greek and Roman mythology. Okay. But they take oaths, and that's what those football players do. When they get signed, right? To be signed a part of something is saying you're taking an oath. Right? So they get signed, they get traded, right? Just like the gladiator, they would trade them for a certain amount of money and sell them, right? They get traded, okay, and they follow the script. Like the brother's been going in lately about how it was a script to the sports. It says to obey the rules before a statue of Zeus. So even in basketball, I always make fun with Gabar and Q about this. Dudes in the world be saying ball is life, right? No, Yahweh Shem Shah is life, man. But if you say ball is life, that's where you put your strength, your power, right? And it says you shall put no other God before me. So men put other gods before the Lord. All right. And then you got the Greek god Hermes. His name is Hermes, I guess, but it's spelled like Hermes, Hermes. And they got a belt, a clothing line after that. All right. This is how you know all this is Rome and Greece all over again. It says, among many things, Hermes was the god of games and athletes. He was said to have invented both wrestling and racing, right? And wrestling, that's another one. Wrestling, they be wearing them little hats. When football came out, they had them little hats. But they sitting there and they be naked, and wrestling and stuff. I remember, and they used to fight naked. I remember that movie Ladies Man, and Will Ferrell, he had a nice looking wife, and he always wanted to go and wrestle with his boys. He was like, yeah, well, how about we take our shirts off, grease up, and wrestle or something. And then, boy ended up telling him, like, hey, Lance, I think his name was Lance or something like that. Well, Lance, you're clearly gay. You know what I'm saying? Like, because he always wanted to wrestle naked with his friends, but he's putting on that Roman and Greek nature, man. Right? So you athletes out there, right? You true athletes, if y'all do listen to us, you got to beware of the God you're serving, even if you're doing indirectly. Sometimes you got to give things up. Some brothers have had to quit sports mainstream before Yahweh Shem Shai. The brothers that were in fraternities, that was serving Greek gods. You had to quit that, right? So it's a lot of things that you got to do. You got to sacrifice to Yahweh Shem Shai. You got to sacrifice, meaning give up those things that were of the world, man. Okay. So going back to Second Maccabees 4, it says 13, now such was as the height of Greek fashion and increase of heathenish manners through the exceeding profaneness of Jason, that ungodly wretch, and no high priest, that the priest had no courage to serve any more at the altar, but despising the temple and neglecting the sacrifices, hastened to be partakers of the unlawful allowance in the place of exercise, after the game of discus called them forth. Okay? It says, not setting by the honors of their fathers, but liking the glory of the Grecians best of all, right? Enjoying that wickedness, those customs that they were doing, right? But discus, so if anybody, even in high school, I was a part of track and field, right? I used to run the big man race, and I used to do shot put and discus. Shot put is when you put this metal ball by your neck and you throw it as far as you possibly can. You got to do like a spin. And discus, you have this disc in your hand. You spin and spin, and you try to launch it as far as you can. And so that's where you have that guy, right? He's a. If you look up, what is his name? I don't want to butcher it. I'm probably gonna say it wrong, but this something. His name is this something. This Scobus or something like that. You know, but he was big on that. He's like naked throwing this disc that kind of looked like a chariot. You know, but it's a disc. It says the ancient Greeks considered the rhythm and precision of an athlete throwing a discus as important as his strength. The discus was made of stone, iron, bronze, or lead and was shaped like a flying saucer. Sizes varied since the boys' division was not expected to throw the same weight as the men's. So you had something like discus, right? Games, things to entertain people. Because if you saw a dude throw a disc far as hell, you would be like, oh, he's strong. He must be hella strong, right? But they would do things like making them fight and kill each other, right? Harm each other. And some of them, it wasn't always about to the death. They had different types of games and different types of battles and different types of things. And that's the whole point. Like a circus, right? Bread and circus. We have a circus. You don't just have one type of act. It's not always about death, right? It's about entertainment, right? Are you not entertained, right? When you have a circus, what they're going to do? They're going to have one point where you're trying to tame the lion. You're going to have the elephants walking around. You're going to have the gymnasts up top doing all of the crazy stuff, flipping and flying in the air. You got the flames, you know. You got the lion jumping through the hoops. You're going to have different things to be able to entertain people. And so this is just all a part of it, man. Right? So this is how you know where we're at now as far as history is concerned. Right? These things, nothing new under the sun. Okay? Revelation 13 and 15. And he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, and that the image of the beast should both speak and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. Right? So that was the same way in that times. People that wouldn't listen to these customs, that wouldn't abide by it and wouldn't get down with what they're doing, they would take them out. But now today is you have the same idea of Rome, right, coming back, and this lifestyle that people want to live as Romans, right? It's a saying in the world, when in Rome. You see, so that now you're living this modern day Sodom, Gomorrah, Egypt, Babylon, Rome, man. All right, and so this is a part of that. This is a part of that image. The bread and circuses, that's a part of the image, man. Right, and so the Lord is looking for true men, right, who are gonna follow after Him in sincerity and truth. But see, now we are also like gladiators too. We're fighting for the Lord, and it says they look at us as a spectacle. We are a spectacle to the people, right? This is First Ezra 1:51. But they had his messengers in derision, and look, when the Lord spake unto them, they made a sport of his prophets. You see, so they make sport of us, right? They call, they talk shit, they make jokes, right? They watch us fight other people, like, I don't mean physically fight, they mean discourse. People, that's when we get the most common people. When we discourse with somebody, get loud and it get, things are going on. That's when the biggest crowds start coming around. People just like entertainment and don't like reality. Well, we telling people their lives are at stake, but people are thinking it's all a joke. They made sport of Samson. This is Judges 16:25. It says, and it came to pass when their hearts were merry, right? They had already taken Samson captive, that they said, call for Samson, that he may make us sport. And what was Samson? Big and strong, right? That he may make us sport, right? So they wanted some entertainment out of Samson. And they called for Samson out of the prison house, and he made them sport, and they set him between the pillars. They were probably making fun of him, throwing shit at him, right? Having him do all kinds of crazy stuff, right? And this is vexing Samson. And Samson said unto the lad that held him by the hand, suffer me, that I may feel the pillars whereupon the house standeth that I may lean upon it. So he yikwabbed him. He basically like, hey, let me, because I believe they blinded him at this point, if I'm not mistaken. I have to read the story again. But he's like, he told the young dude, he like, hey, put my hand on the pillars. But really, Samson was getting ready for something. It says, now the house was full of men and women, and all the lords of the Philistines were there. And it's interesting that they said pillars, because when you look at this picture of the Colosseum, all of those tall white beams, those are all pillars. That's how you set a foundation. All are all pillars. It says, and now the house was full of men and women, and all the lords of the Philistines were there. And there were upon the roof about 3,000 men and women that beheld while Samson made sport. So 3,000 men and women laughing at him, talking shit, throwing stuff at him, right? Samson was a gladiator. He had killed 1,000 men before, right? But it was 3,000 men and women on the roof. It says, and Samson called unto the Lord and said, O Yahweh Shem Shai, Lord power, remember me. I pray thee and strengthen me. I pray thee only this once, O Yahweh, that I may be at once the avenge of the Philistines for my 2 eyes. Right. So he was, they blinded him, right? And so he's like, avenge me of my enemies for my 2 eyes. And so this is for everybody, all you people in the world, right? Especially you damn Negroes out here who are just rocking dreads because you think it gives you wisdom and power, right? This is a clean cut to let you know that it wasn't about your hair, right? He asked the Lord. The Lord is what strengthened him, all right? It says, and Samson took hold of the 2 middle pillars, which the house stood, and on which it was borne up, of the one with his right hand and the other with his left. And Samson said, let me die with the Philistines. And he bowed himself with all his might. And the house fell upon the lords and upon the people that were therein. So the dead which he slew at his death were more than they which he slew in his life. So call all y'all by Shem Shai, man. That's how strong he was, right? How strong he was to the point where he can make a whole house fall by grabbing it. This is how you know that he has spiritual powers, man. Ultimately, the Lord gave him spiritual powers to bring down pillars on a house when your 2 men, after you've been weakened and blinded, he has spiritual powers. Okay. And so they were making sport of our people. Okay. This says gladiator. I looked up the definitions. It says in ancient Rome, a man trained to fight with weapons against other men or wild animals in an arena. And that's what they are like. Like, even though they did fight actual animals, right? But that's goes into, these brute beasts, man. And those dudes, a lot of those guys, right, that aren't intelligent, they'll go out and they'll be brute beasts, mentally brute beasts. I want to look something up. They'll be brute beasts. And that's how the 2/3 of our people are. So the word gladiator, I wanted to look up the etymology of that, right? It says gladiator. It comes from gladius, which means sword. Esau, you see? Roman swordsman, fighter in the public games. Gladius, sword. You see? So Esau, Edom, which is thy sword, created an area where men can draw blood. It says he lusted after blood. This man is after blood. So blood gonna pursue him. He always want blood in some way, shape, form, or fashion. So hey, I think that's about all the points that I wanted to get. Let me just double check here. I think that's everything. But yeah, that's everything. Wait. Yeah, that's everything. So, hey, Lord willing, this lesson was edifying. I want to give all the praise, all the honor, and all the glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rachakodash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone. And peace and mercy to the house of David, the hopeful elect. Lord willing, this lesson was edifying. Until next time, Shalom.